Hey guys, Eli here, back for a review that nobody asked for, and I doubt anyone that watches my channel would be super interested in, but when have I ever let that stop me, right? Anyways, we're here to talk about Kitbull. Kitbull is an animated short from 2019, directed and written by Rosanna Sullivan, and was produced by Pixar Animation Studios. It was the third film in Pixar's Sparkshorts program, which was a series of Pixar employee created shorts made with limited time and budgets. Essentially, Kitbull is about a homeless black cat being a cat, doing cat things like chasing birds, finding food to eat, and playing with bottle caps, the way that only cats know how to do, of course. And a white pit bull who is brought to a new place to live, chained up outside, coincidentally the same trashy yard where the cat lives, unbeknownst to anyone. Now, despite this short being out since 2019, it only just got on my radar. I didn't even know what the Spark Shorts program was. I grew up with the Toy Story movies, but I hadn't exactly kept up with Pixar. Moving on, it becomes apparent that the dog was maybe adopted for nefarious reasons, and the cat goes from not liking it to not trusting it either. Things got heavy for me, and my heart sunk in the next scene where it's nighttime, the back door of the house opens up, the house with the yard where the dog and cat both live, and the barely conscious dog rolls down the steps covered in wounds. He had been adopted to use for fighting. And yes, people still do that. Not as commonly these days, but it still fucking happens. So, I used to work with animals professionally. I studied veterinary medicine in college for a while, long enough to get a job as a veterinary assistant. I devoted my life to helping dogs and cats. My job brought me a great amount of stress for very little pay. Long story short, I left that line of work, never to return. I could no longer watch animals in pain, suffering, and people losing their best friends on a daily basis. Turned out I wasn't cut out for all that. To this day, though, I'm glad I gave it a shot and gave it my all. I helped a lot of sick animals, and I comforted a lot of humans who were going through a lot. But I didn't make this video to talk about myself, like, at all. I'm no hero, but my background with animals made this little movie hard to watch, as dumb as that might sound. I'm very empathetic when it comes to animals, even in animated form. Back to the movie, anyways. The dog regains consciousness outside in the rain and just wants to come inside. Suddenly, the box that the cat lives in falls down, and the cat comes rolling out of it, getting its head caught in one of those plastic six-pack can holder things, which then gets snagged on some barbed wire. The dog takes notice and approaches the cat, which of course is alarming since it wants nothing to do with the dog. The dog comes closer, opens its mouth, revealing a large set of teeth, looking monstrous to this little and momentarily defenseless cat. The dog reaches close and snaps his jaws closed, but only to bite through the plastic to set the cat free. This, of course, scares the cat, as it was so unexpected, and it swats the dog in the nose, leaving another open wound. The dog yelps in pain and backs up, but for a moment, they stare wide-eyed at each other before retreating to their respective areas. The dog is sad, rejected yet again. The cat looks at the plastic that is no longer around its neck and realizes what actually just happened. It was not being attacked, it was being saved. Later that night, since, cats are mostly nocturnal, it decides to go play some more with its newfound plastic cap. It decides to swat the cap in the direction of the doghouse, just to see what happens since it is starting to doubt that the dog had ever meant to do any harm in the first place. The cat bounces off the doghouse, but there's no movement from inside, and the cat becomes concerned and decides to investigate as it slowly walks into the doghouse. The dog is sleeping, but it becomes obvious that it is injured, and the cat sees the wounds. The dog hears the cat enter and lets out a growl, but it is too tired to do anything about it and decides to just stay laying down. It looks sad, obviously in pain from the fighting wounds. I'm getting the feeling of hopelessness, and the cat seems to pick up on that as well. It approaches the dog slowly, licks a wound on its front leg, and then licks a wound on its face. Any previous thoughts that maybe the dog wanted to hurt it are now gone, and it wants to be friends. It understands now that it wants to be loved and was lonely, rejected, just like the cat. It may be different, but they are the same. The dog is too exhausted to move, but its tail wags a few times. Early next morning, they both walk out of the doghouse, together this time, with a new outlook on life and ready for a new beginning. now that they aren't alone anymore. Suddenly, the porch light turns on, which startles them both, especially after becoming certain that this human is not one of the good ones. The cat scrambles across the yard to the top of the fence and looks at the dog who's having trouble finding a way over. The back door creaks and slowly opens as the dog continues to struggle with its escape. The cat jumps back down into the yard, swatting at the dog's tail as to hurry it up. The dog pushes harder, climbing up a pile of trash and finally reaching the top as the cat jumps on its back so that it can escape together. They finally make it over the fence just as the human walks out into the yard and holding a large chain. Later that day, cat and dog are already enjoying their new lives together, looking happier than ever. Cat attacks dog's tail as dog rolls on its back, and they play together enjoying their newfound friendship. And suddenly, out of nowhere, an open can of cat food is set down in front of it. A woman sits down and extends her hand. Cat allows a scratch on the head as dog slowly walks over from a tree it was hiding behind. It looks up at the woman timidly as she stands up. Dog flinches as she reaches towards its head. It closes its eyes as if expecting to be hit, but opens them back up as she begins to pet the dog. This is one of the good humans, and dog realizes that instantly. Fast forward a little bit, and the next thing you see is the woman and her partner looking down on what looks like San Francisco, the city I was actually born near, as cat and dog play together in a field. Now, I don't really watch a ton of shorts, but this one moved me for reasons I kind of explained earlier, and I would like to thank Rosanna Sullivan for making this. It maybe opened up some old wounds, but it had the right closure that I didn't always get, and it was beautiful for that reason. To me, Kitbull highlights both animal abuse and human kindness that will always overcome it. I know that my usual audience will have probably not a lot of interest in this, but I felt compelled to make it anyways, and I always go with my heart. Thanks for watching. Stand up for animals. Be the voice that they don't have.